There was no information anywhere in relation to scholarships. In fact, it was like a secret that only a few people were privy to. This was especially so here in Botswana, and getting any information on scholarships was very difficult. So the fact that GESSA is making this information accessible to all students will open up doors for many gifted and incredibly hardworking students. The fact is, international students are very critical for our country's economy. They bring a unique skill set, fresh outlook, young talent, cultural perspective, which accelerates the growth of a nation, and it makes it more diverse and developed. The economic impact is not limited to tuition fees, living costs, medical bills, and transportation. When students move around the globe, they add value to scientific and technical research. They introduce different perspectives, and they make societies more liberal and tolerant, and even make way for long-term business collaborations. International students bring social, cultural diversity to their campuses. They help create a progressive and enriching learning environment. It's due to them that many universities located across borders are able to forge international ties. And once graduated, the international student becomes an informal ambassador, leading exchanges between their home nation and the host nation. And this indirectly helps both in strengthening travel, trade, and diplomatic ties. Okay, now focusing on my own journey, I believe I am the quintessential international student. I have been very privileged to have been able to study in Botswana, South Africa, Australia, and the United Kingdom. In Botswana, I went to primary and secondary school. In South Africa, I obtained my first 2 bachelor degrees in arts and in law. And in Australia, I obtained my master's of law. Later, when I traveled to the United Kingdom, I wrote the Foreign Attorneys Transfer Examinations, which allowed me to be admitted as a solicitor. So what was my takeaway from my study abroad? Well, a lot of people say that travel opens the mind, and that is an understatement. Looking back, when I first traveled to Australia, I had a lot of preconceptions, and one piece of information I didn't know was that there was such a huge population of East Asians living in Australia. To that point, my interactions with East Asians had been very limited, and in my very myopic view, I believed most East Asians were Chinese or from China, and that of course shows a lot of ignorance, and that view very quickly changed. I mean, East Asian, I got to see, it opened my eyes living in Australia, with regards to the East Asian culture and its people. Secondly, the experience of living and studying in another country is there's the learning that happens in the classroom, and then there's the learning that happens through what I call a form of osmosis. The learning of a people, their culture, in your day-to-day interactions. And it is through these experiences, these interactions I had living abroad, that I feel have really benefited me even now in my practice. A lot of my clients are from Australia. I have there are Australian mining companies or companies on the Australian Stock Exchange. I have clients from the United Kingdom. And the fact that I lived and studied abroad enables me to create a connection with them that I would not otherwise have been able to do. So this brings me to my work experience, and I'll briefly talk about the legal profession as I see it now. We all know the joke. What do you call 10,000 lawyers at the bottom of the sea? A good start. Well, notwithstanding that joke, a career as a lawyer is still one of the most sought-after professions, and there are indeed many rewards if you pursue one. The practice of law offers a certain gratification that comes with helping a client in need. Having said that, lawyers are still one of the most hardworking people out there. They put in many more hours of work compared to those in other professions. In fact, what you might see on TV, such as lawyers relaxing, chatting, and enjoying lunch with clients, is not realistic. The truth is, lawyers, we lawyers, work between 50 and 60 hours on average per week. And so it's my view that the many hours law students spend to get their degrees are both in preparation and practice for them to work hard. So their obligations extend beyond making passionate speeches in court to defend their delinquent clients. The practice of law also has long hours, which I've stated, but it's also very competitive these days. So as lawyers, you find that you are spending more time, on the business development or business management activities of the law firm. But that's in addition to your billing hours, which are equally important. So many lawyers do complain there is a lack of work-life balance. And the law market has also become more competitive, and law schools continue to release fresh young graduates every year. And unfortunately, it has forced some lawyers to settle for less than ideal employment or to change careers entirely. And then, of course, there is the fact that clients now have become more conscious of their legal spending, and they've become more demanding and they want more value for their money. So this has forced lawyers to keep their rates reasonable, whereas in the past, lawyers were known for charging incredible amounts for legal services. So the practice of law is changing dramatically. And then, of course, we do see the introduction of technology. So now lawyers no longer have a monopoly in the legal field. We see legal document technicians to virtual law officers and self-help legal websites. So lawyers are facing competition from a variety of non-lawyer sources as well. And then there is the stress, the deadlines, billing pressures, client demands, long hours that we lawyers live in our daily lives. We live through. But having said all that, there are some incredible advantages, and I wanted to sort of end with these advantages of getting a law degree. So having a law degree offers you a variety of career paths. You can, of course, practice law, and even within the practice of law, you can go in-house, you can be in private practice, or you can be in the academic world. Then you can, or alternatively, you can actually you can change your career completely and go into business. More and more, we are seeing CEOs who were previously lawyers or who have legal degrees in large blue chip companies. So there are those options. And then there is lucrative earnings that come from being a lawyer. So good salaries. If you are one of the lucky few, you may get a job, one of the big firms, which pay very, very good salaries. Or you may, even if you don't get a job at one of those firms, lawyers generally make a reasonably good standard of living. They may not be wealthy, but they can be comfortably middle class, and that is a good place to be in. I still believe that the legal profession is a noble profession. You will, as a law student, you will gain the respect of your family and friends, and you'll be able to assist them in the future if they require the services of a skilled lawyer. There is independence that comes with a law degree. When you, once you've graduated and completed your training, if you don't wish to work for a firm or work for a company, you can open your own firm. Or even if you struggle to find work, you can open your own firm. And there is an incredible independence. It's an incredible option that the law degree provides. And it's not an option that many professions have. And then finally, most important for me is the fact that is the dynamic nature of law. So you won't get bored with your career as a lawyer, since all the cases you work on, or most of the cases you work on, will be unique. Each case will be unique. It will be frequently hard. So you will have long hours researching, but it will keep you sharp. It will keep your minds sharp, and there is an incredible feeling of gratification that comes from helping a client who is in a difficult situation. So what are the qualifications required to be a lawyer? You need, at the very minimum, you need a Bachelor of Law Degree. Following completion of your degree, you may be required to do clerkship or articles with a law firm, and at the end of that clerkship and articles, you may be required to write bar exams. Now, that depends from country to country. In Botswana, there isn't that requirement; it doesn't exist, but in other countries, the requirement is there. So this leads me to my final piece of advice. As a student, you need to consider where you intend to practice, because each country's legal requirements, admission requirements differ. And you need to ensure that the degree you obtain will be recognized in that country. What you don't want is to get to the end of your degree and find that you're unable to practice in the country that you studied in. And I'll give you an example. In South Africa, you need to be a permanent resident or a citizen. That is one of the requirements for admission. So even if you study in South Africa, at the end of that term, if you don't fulfill that requirement, in addition to others, you will not be admitted. And it's incredibly frustrating. So do the research. I mean, as potential lawyers, you don't live on the creed of hope. You know, such that you hope things will work out. You prepare, you do the research, and you make an informed decision. I wish to thank you all for listening to my talk, and I wish you all the best.